Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jason White, and this is my channel, Jason's Weird Reads. And this is my final wrap up for the summer, or the Bloody Beach Read Along 2019 that I hosted with Rachel from the Shades of Orange, Stephanie from That's What She Read, Carla from Carla's Book Bits, and Cami from Cami's Korner. And you know what? I had a lot of fun. I'm really appreciative to Rachel for inviting me on this ride. It was a lot of fun, and I think we might be doing it again next year. It's hard to say. Got a cat here. Oh, this little one likes to terrorize my laptop, especially when I'm using it. Don't ya? Yes, you do. All right. So, the month I started off with Kill River 2, and this is by Roubique, of course, and I'm just gonna spoil things right now and say that I actually enjoyed this better than the first one, and that's not saying all that much. Actually, I guess that is saying something, because I really enjoyed the first one, but this one was just a lot more fun. Especially, the first one did start off a little bit slowly, and there were some people who complained about that. But this one, although it does have a bit of a slow start as well, it once things kick in, it just doesn't stop. Okay, let's get into the synopsis a little bit. It's about a year after the events at Kikawak Park. I think that's what the place was called. The campground where Cindy went to and experienced all those terrible things. Well, she didn't experience them there. She experienced them in the water park that she ran away to. But anyways, it's a year after that. She's suffering from some serious PTSD. She's having terrible nightmares. And just after the events at that other water park, some dude in a suit showed up with an offering of paying her way through college if she keeps her mouth shut about the whole incident. And she agrees, and so she can't tell anyone. And at the end of the first book, you see her eyeing a boy who's cutting her neighbor's grass, and they actually end up together. Cindy is a bit of a different person in this book. She's still the same person, but she has some issues. Another gift that guy in the suit gave her was a new Walkman. If you recall, in the first one, she was pretty much attached to the knee, or I guess to the head, by her Walkman, and it got broken in the first one. And she gets this new one. She doesn't listen to it as often because it's too much of a grim reminder of what happened, but she still does pull it out every so often, and she still has her mixtapes. So she's a different person. She's deeply affected by the events of the previous summer, and lo and behold, to her worst nightmares, there is a water park opening up in town, and it has all the same markings as that other water park that she was at. It's by the same company, and so she ends up getting a job there. Oh no, she doesn't get a job there. Her boyfriend gets a job there. She gets a job at a different pool. Like what was there before the water park was opening up, is just a regular swimming pool that a lot of kids went to, and she's like serving drinks to the patrons there, and getting their candy bars and shit from behind a counter. Anyways, so her boyfriend gets a job there. Now there's some stuff that happens in this book, like that's all the kind of slow stuff. You know that this park it's not going to go well once it opens, and it certainly doesn't. But there's other things that happen in this book that I really liked. There's a bit of something in this book that surprised me, is there's a bit of well, Cindy is with her boyfriend, and there's another girl, Cindy's friend. I'm pretty sure that she mentioned her friend in the previous book that's no longer her friend. I think her name is Jennifer. I could be wrong on that. But so those two really kind of go head to head in this book, and there's a part involving teen drama that made me kind of cheer in the beginning book, because I didn't expect that to come. I was not expecting that to happen, and once that happened, I was like, oh my god, this book is amazing. And so that's awesome. And then of course after the first night, on opening night, there's a party that's being held for for the people who work at the water park. And of course, Cindy is invited to go. At first, she's like, "Nah, I'm not going." But she thinks that there's a good reason why she does end up going, and she actually leaves, or no, she leaves the park early after what I just mentioned about the drama. Anyways, she ends up going back, and she ends up going to the party, and it's a big mistake on her part, but maybe not, because well, you're gonna have to read this book and find out. It's a lot of fun, and apparently part 3 is being written right now by Carmen Roubique, and I can't wait for it. Honestly, this is a fun series, and I look forward to reading Cameron Roubique for a very long time. Alright, so the second book that I read was Something Borrowed, Something Blood Soaked by, uh, hang on here, by Christa Carmen. Just pulling up my notes. So I took some notes, and of course I can't find them. Should be like right here up the top. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, I really enjoyed this anthology, Something Borrowed, Something Blood Soaked by Christa Carmen. She is a really, really good writer. I wasn't necessarily surprised, but you know, whenever I'm checking out a new author, I'm always surprised when I do enjoy them. It was the same with Cameron Roubique. I think that's because there's this negativity in me that just expects to not like when I'm reading when it's new. I don't know where that comes from, because generally I do. But yeah, so this anthology, this collection, sorry, because it's her own collection of short stories, is full of very different stories, and this is something that I chatted with the other co-hosts behind the scenes. They are very different in atmosphere and taste, but for the most part, they are very, very well done and very dark. Um, the very first story, Thirsty Creatures, is an apocalyptic story that doesn't necessarily give away what the catastrophic event was that killed everyone off, or at least most of everyone. And I kind of like that. It's hinted strongly that there's something to do with the water, because people would drink water and then they would like start vomiting blood in their innards and all that terrible stuff. But the landscape has changed as well, and there's also a well full of clean water off somewhere else. And you know, I really enjoyed that story. It was very, very dark and very mysterious, and it just kept me thinking. I really liked the way it was written too. There's just it actually reminded me a lot of the weird fiction that I like, and so if you're into that, I definitely recommend you checking that out. There's a couple stories in here I didn't like. Mostly the shorter stories, like the title story. Actually, I didn't like very much. Something Borrowed, Something Blood Soaked. But I'm getting ahead of myself here, because the second story is Red Room. I really enjoyed that one too. The basic premise for this story is, and I'm not going to get into every story, just my favorite ones here. Red Room is, the premise for that is, while you're sleeping, there's, you know what pictures are on your phone, right? You took them. But when you wake up, there's something new, a new picture. And the main character, the new pictures that are taken while she's asleep are of a murder room. I'll leave it at that. I mean, to me, though, that's just creepy. I mean, just imagine waking up and finding that kind of crap on your phone. It's like, what happened? How did somebody get into my room, take my phone, and then put it back without me waking up? I mean, that would scare the living hell out of me. Liquid Handcuffs was another favorite of mine. Um, this is very much a story about addiction. The story is pretty much from an addiction counselor's perspective, as she talks to one of her patients, and her patient's ex-boyfriend becomes a pretty scary figure in this. And I really enjoyed the entire thing. I gobbled this story up in one sitting, and I couldn't stop reading. It's actually a novella. It's like about an hour and 15 minutes to read, or at least that's what my Kindle says. I don't know if it took that long for me to read it, but I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend this anthology, or I keep calling it an anthology, this collection for that story alone. It's very well done. I wasn't a big fan, honestly, of the end per se, but I really did enjoy the rest of it. Endings don't really ruin stories for me. And stories are hard. They're hard to finish, especially horror stories. So yeah, Lady of the Flies, which is responsible for the awesome book cover, and and this story is I don't know, man. This story is weird. It involves a woman who is accused of murdering a bunch of puppies at her place, and people just don't understand her. You just don't know until the end if she is a murdering psychopath or not. And there's one more that really made an impression on me. This one was really sad, and it was another addiction story and the attempt to recover, and it's called Wolves at the Door and Bears in the Forest. This is a story about a young mother who's trying her hardest to kick heroin, and she's going to a clinic every day. I think this takes place in Boston, and so she goes to this clinic every day to get a shot of something that will keep the sickness of withdrawal at bay. I forget what the stuff is they give you for that. It's slipping my mind right now. But anyway, she misses a dose, and she's trying to take care of her kids. They close the doors at 11 o'clock in the morning, so if you miss your dose, you're screwed. And one thing I enjoyed about this seems so real to me, that the way they look at her accusingly, and yet they're there to help her. But there is no help for her. They're expecting her to screw up, and they're expecting her to, they're expecting to have to take her child away. They're expecting the worst. They're not doing a thing to help her when these things are set there to help her. It got me kind of pissed off, because that's just the way people are, and that's the way life is. Maybe there's a reason for that. A lot of people do screw up, especially when they're addicts. It's a tough road to take, and not suggesting that they choose it on purpose. What I mean is, when you find yourself down that road, it's just not easy to crawl out of. And our governments, they try to help us, but you find yourself just end up being looked down upon and expecting to fail. Nobody's there to actually help you, I guess, because of the disappointment level. I don't know, but it'd be nice if every so often, when somebody's trying to reach out for help, if they would get it. Anyways, this is a story about that, and it has a very strange ending. It kind of goes into weird fiction again, which is my cup of tea. And so, yeah, those stories that I mentioned are my favorites from this collection. I really enjoyed myself reading this. I do have one more complaint. I read the ebook for this, and for some reason the font on here is all bold. I don't know why that is, and the titles are huge. I don't know if you can see that. That's just crazy, insane. And then, like I said, with the you can kind of see maybe that's all in bold, and it doesn't change throughout. That really annoyed me. But I enjoyed the stories enough. If I didn't, I wouldn't have read it. But that really pulled me. Every time I opened it, I saw that, and I'm like, why is everything in bold? Because when it's in bold, it makes me think that it's, you're supposed to be paying attention to this. I've never read an ebook that was all in bold before, and I didn't even know it was actually possible. But it is, and it's in this ebook, so I highly suggest getting the print book if that's something that would bother you. Alright, so that's my wrap-up for the Bloody Beach read-along. Thank you all who participated. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that Rachel will invite me to do it again if she does it again. And until then, until my next video, keep being creative, and I will catch you in the next bookish video.